He's got his Carhartt on. Carhartts are on. Put your Carhartt on. Right, Oli? You're just gonna sit there? All right, fine, let's go. Come on. Are we going this way? Welcome back, guys. Today we're gonna be covering a wide variety of shop projects. Now, my dad and I, we've been working in the shop a lot lately because the weather here in Eastern Washington State has just not been productive for us to be able to get into the field. It's just been a little bit too wet. Now, I know all throughout the country, people have been experiencing different weather. Down in Texas, I was just reading an article about the severe drought that some of those guys are experiencing. Then you jump over into the Dakotas, North Dakota, South Dakota. They've been experiencing severe blizzard, winter storm warnings, all of it. I think they're getting all of it. So I should be fortunate and lucky that we are experiencing the weather that we have here in Eastern Washington and not be complaining. But as a farmer, you always got to complain about something, right? But yeah, we've been working here in the shop just because it's just been a little bit too wet, too winter-like outside. So I'll be showing you guys some of the projects I'm covering and starting that preparation so when the weather does finally clear up, we can get out there and hit it hard. All right, so what we got going on here is, even though this may look like an old junk hitch, which it kind of is, my dad bought this, I don't know, a few years ago. And what we've done is we've converted this old hitch, which used to actually be a fertilizer applicator. And the company that owned it is a company called McGregor Company. They're a chemical company here locally. And they took all of the fertilizer application off of it. And then my dad bought it for, I don't know, a few $100s. And we've converted it to be able to pull multiple implements at once. And so we use this hitch to be able to pull chisels and cultivators and things of that nature because our tractors have gotten bigger over the years, and so we're able to pull more tillage equipment with just one single tractor versus the equipment that my grandpa used in, say, the 1970s or 80s. So what we're going to be doing is adding wings to it to be able to make it wider, to be able to pull a few pieces of equipment that are also wider themselves. But before we can jump into making the hitch wider to be able to pull two cultivators, they're two old Glencoe cultivators, we have to actually fix the hitch because it is damaged. We accidentally cracked part of the frame on it last year when we were using it in the fall because the ground was so hard, and we'll get that all welded up and I wouldn't say good as new, but it will be fixed. So on this hitch, there's wings that wing out, and down here is a crack in the frame. So obviously it's not as strong as it should be with a crack in it. And so what we're gonna have to do is take off this bracket and this bracket, and then there's one down there at the end, and those are holding on these pipes for the hydraulic lines. We'll get those taken off, and we'll probably have to rig something up here to be able to press down on the frame to be able to get that pushed back, and then we'll groove out the crack. We'll get it welded up with the old mobile Lincoln welder over there, and then we'll be able to move on to putting the wings on. So stay tuned. Alright guys, so we have our little tractor here with the bucket on it, and it's now using gravity as well as the hydraulics to press down onto this tubing here, which makes up the framework of this old frame, if you will. And as you can see, the crack is now closed up. So that means that this side and this side, as the tractor pushes down on them, the crack shrinks. And so now what we're ready to do is get in here with the torch and V all of this out. And what the V'ing will do is that will allow us, when we come in to weld it up, there'll be more surface area for the weld to make contact with this side of the tubing and this side of the tubing, and hopefully make a stronger weld. Okay, so now that we've got the crack all beat out and ready to weld, we will fire up the mobile welder here. We're going to be filling it in with a 7018 welding rod. I think it's like 1/8 inch or whatever. And then we'll get it all filled in, and I'll show you guys the final product here on this project. Okay, so we just got this all welded up. Not a professional weld by any means, but hopefully it'll hold. And we will start putting the hydraulic lines back on each one of these brackets. And this project should be finalized. Okay, so now that we got the tubing all welded up and the gap all filled in, we're ready to move on to the next part of this hitch. Now, believe me, I know some of you that maybe will watch this someday will be like, well, gee, that's just pure junk. And believe me, my dad and I, we know it's junk. We're kind of pulling junk with junk. But the thing with junk is it does the job if you make it work right. So we are kind of adapting and improvising. I mean, just think of it. This setup that we're going to be making, it's never really going to go down the road. We have quite a few acres here at our home place that we farm all together, so we're able to kind of get away with some of this kind of farming practice, where a lot of people that are farming, they move all over. They have to have their equipment set up to go down the road. And we also farm other places that have quite a distance from our main farm here. But for things around here on the farm, we're able to kind of get away with these cheats. So it's a lot cheaper to mess around with junk like this than it is to go and buy new. So the next part of the project that we're going to be working on is getting these wings attached. So these, I'm going to call them ears right here that you're looking at. I didn't put these on. They came from when the McGregor company made this hitch. And there's a little bit of key stock here. We got to cut that off to be able to work for our project. And then there's one over here. It's the same way. So my grandfather, he's still around, and he remembers building these wings for another implement when he was farming, and we just happened to luck out, and these ears and the ear over there are just wide enough to go over the distance of these ears. So meaning the outside of the green wing over there and the outside on the other end will be able to fit just right over these orange ears. So you guys will see as we go along. Well, anymore, it's going to be kind of an expensive day when these guys show up. But we're glad that they came out from 4-Star Supply. These guys are out of Colfax, Washington, and they're dropping off some clear fuel for us. Because when we've been delivering the wheat, we've been burning a lot of fuel. So, okay, so while those guys are delivering the fuel here, I happen to find some shaft for those wings I was telling you guys about. And we have on our farm, like a lot of farms, we have a lot of junk sitting around, so sometimes you need that junk, and today I'm going to use some of it. So here on our iron rack, or junk rack, whatever somebody wants to call it, but right now it's not junk because we're going to use it. I'm going to cut off this 1-inch shaft, and that is going to act as the pin, if you will, that's going to go through those pieces for the wing and that are already on the frame. It'll be the connector for the wing to be able to swivel on. So we've got our pins all here, we've got our washers. Again, we're gonna weld one of these. If you can envision, this would be where the pin would be going through both sets of ears or tabs of the two pieces of the framework. So we are going to weld one washer to one end, and then if you see, I got a paint mark right here. That, if you can envision, would be a hole that would be drilled all the way through this larger pin. And again, that would keep it so it wouldn't ever be able to sway back and forth. So these are the 4 pins that are going to hold the wings onto the hitch. We got the washers all welded on to the bottom of them. And now we're ready to go ahead and drill a hole through each one of these all the way through the pin. And that will allow us to be able to put a bolt or a pin or smaller pin, something of that nature, to be able to make it so it doesn't slide out when we're trying to use it. That's it for this video, guys. Covering some of the projects that we've been working on here in the shop. And believe me, in the next week or two, we're gonna be out in the field showing off all the tractors and the tillage equipment and things that we have. I'm excited to show you guys some of the terrain that we're trying to farm here in Eastern Washington. Again, it's called the Palouse region. So if you are curious, you can look that up. But again, if you like this kind of content or you like watching these kind of videos, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. I know all those things that all the YouTubers say, but believe me, they definitely do help. So again, share this video and continue to watch. Stay tuned. Thanks.